In the quiet corners of the world, where shadows lay untouched, a tale unfolds. In a land where time seemingly stands still, there lies an unassuming town. A town where the sun shines bright, the grass is always green, and the houses never lose their fresh coat of pastel paint. It's a place that radiates an almost obsessive cleanliness, a peculiar trait that all its inhabitants share. The streets sparkle in the afternoon sun, not a speck of dust to be seen. The townsfolk, with their cheery smiles and polished shoes, go about their day in this picture-perfect world. But as the sun dips below the horizon, and the town sinks into the embrace of the night, a different story begins to unfold. There is a darker side to this idyllic town, for it's not just the streets that are clean, but the clothes too. An eerie collection that seems to grow with every passing day, a collection of bloody clothes. Each piece tells a story of its former owner, a tale of their fate. A crimson shirt, a floral dress, a child's sweater, all soaked in scarlet. They're carefully collected, meticulously cleaned, and then stored away, hidden from prying eyes. It's a strange ritual, a morbid fascination that the town collectively shares, but never speaks of. As the moon ascends, replacing the warm glow of the sun with a cold, silver light, the bloody clothes begin to stir. The silence of the night is broken by a soft rustling, a whisper that grows louder with each passing hour. It's a chilling symphony, a cacophony of voices that echo through the quiet streets. The bloody clothes are speaking, sharing their tales of woe, their pleas for justice. The townsfolk, despite their fear, listen, for they know that to ignore would be to invite the wrath of the unseen stains. And as darkness fell, the bloody clothes began their silent whisper, a chilling symphony that only the brave dared to listen. In the heart of the town, a young man named John discovered an unusual sight. As he walked through the quaint streets, his eyes caught a glimpse of something out of place. A piece of clothing muddled with a disconcerting shade of red. It wasn't the typical red of a fashion statement, but rather the chilling hue of dried blood. John, always the inquisitive one, found himself drawn to this eerie discovery. His heart pounded in his chest as his fingers grazed the fabric, the cold reality of his find sinking in. He wondered, who did this belong to? What had happened? His mind raced with possibilities, each more unsettling than the last. Fear began to creep in, but so did an undeniable curiosity. He knew he should walk away, but something compelled him to delve deeper into this mystery. As John held the bloody garment, he could feel an icy chill running down his spine. The cloth seemed ordinary, but John knew better. To the unsuspecting eye, it was just a piece of fabric, stained and forgotten. But for John, it was a living nightmare, whispering horrifying secrets that no man should ever know. It started subtly, almost imperceptibly. A hushed murmur in the dead of night, a rustle that was a tad out of place. John began to notice the cloth's eerie presence. The once mundane object now seemed to pulsate with an uncanny life of its own, its bloody stains a grotesque testament to its dark past. Like a moth drawn to a flame, John found himself inexplicably drawn to the cloth. Its whispers, though terrifying, were also strangely compelling. Each night, as the world around him slept, he would sit in the dim light of his room, the bloody cloth in his hands, listening to the chilling tales it had to tell. The cloth spoke of gruesome murders and unspeakable horrors. It told of a time when the innocent were not spared, of a darkness that consumed all in its path. The whispers grew more vivid, more visceral, with each passing night. They painted a picture so gruesome, so horrifying, that it began to consume John's every waking moment. Sleep eluded him, and when it did come, it was filled with nightmares of blood and terror. John could feel his sanity slipping away bit by bit, replaced by a bone-chilling fear that gripped him in its icy grasp. Yet he could not tear himself away from the cloth. It was as if he was trapped in a macabre dance with the devil himself, unable to break free. The whispers grew louder, more insistent. They echoed in his mind, a constant reminder of the cloth's sinister legacy. The terror it instilled in him was unbearable, yet John was powerless against its pull. The cloth had become his tormentor, the whispering voice a haunting melody that filled his every thought. As the whispers grew louder, John could hardly shake the feeling that he was being watched. The cloth, once just an object, had become an entity, a living nightmare that whispered chilling tales of horror, driving John to the brink of madness. John's fear drove him to uncover the truth behind the town's obsession with cleanliness. As the days turned into weeks, John found himself tumbling further down the rabbit hole, his curiosity piqued by the town's eerie obsession with spotless attire. The townsfolk, always in crisp, immaculate clothes, spoke in hushed tones about the dire consequences of stained garments. This strange fixation was more than just a peculiar quirk. It was a deep-seated fear, a chilling dread that seemed to cling to every fiber of their being. John's search led him to ancient town records, dust-laden and forgotten. The pages were filled with tales of a brutal past, of a time when the town was gripped by a relentless, bloodthirsty force. The force, the records revealed, had a strange affinity for the stained and the sullied. It was said to be drawn to the bloodied clothes of its victims, leaving behind a trail of gruesome demise. As he delved deeper into the town's history, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. The obsession with cleanliness was not simply a matter of hygiene or aesthetics, it was a survival tactic, a desperate attempt to ward off the malevolent force that once haunted them. The bloody clothes were more than just a symbol of a violent past. They were a harbinger of doom, a curse that could awaken the sleeping terror. The townsfolk lived in constant fear of the curse's return, their lives dictated by a chilling ritual of incessant cleaning, their laughter masked by the fear that lurked beneath. Their pristine clothes were their armor, their only defense against the return of the blood-stained spectre. The town's pristine beauty was a facade, a cover for the chilling curse that held it captive. The fear that pervaded the town was palpable, a chilling reminder of a past they wished to forget, but could not. The bloody clothes, once a symbol of terror, now represented their only hope for salvation. With the truth in his hands, John decided to face the curse head-on. He knew he had to act, to fight back against this terrifying spectre that had haunted his town for too long. No longer could he ignore the chilling whispers that came from the blood-soaked garments, the eerie murmurs that filled the silence of the night. John was a simple man, yet his determination was unwavering. He was not a hero in the traditional sense, but he knew he had a responsibility to his town, to his friends, and to himself. The curse had taken too much from them already, and John refused to let it take any more. His plan was straightforward yet daunting. He had to find every piece of blood-stained clothing that had been cursed and destroy them. Each garment was a link in the chain that bound the town to its gruesome past, a past that had to be eradicated to give way to a future free of fear. John's eyes were sharp, his senses heightened. He knew he was not just hunting for objects. He was hunting for the town's freedom, its peace. He was hunting for hope. He was ready to delve deep into the shadows, to confront the unseen, to face the unknown. As he embarked on this journey, he was not alone. The whispers of the bloody clothes seemed to guide him, to lead him to their hiding places. It was as if they too wanted to be found, to be freed from the curse that bound them. They echoed around him, their eerie voices merging with the rustling leaves and the howling wind, creating a symphony of the macabre. Yet, John was not deterred. He was resolute, his spirit unbroken. He knew that each step he took was a step towards liberation, a step towards a new dawn. He was ready to pay the price, to bear the burden, to carry the weight of the town's past on his shoulders. And as John set out on his quest, the bloody clothes seemed to beckon him, luring him into the heart of the curse. He knew the path would be treacherous, filled with uncertainties, but he was ready to face it, to challenge the darkness, to fight back against the curse that had held them captive for so long. The hunt had begun. As John ventured deeper into the town's secret, he found himself standing on the edge of a precipice. The air was thick with the scent of centuries-old secrets, and the whispering clothes, once a cacophony of eerie voices, now murmured in hushed tones. The path of blood-soaked fabric led him to an unexpected destination, an unmarked grave, hidden away in the town's forgotten corner. The grave, as silent as the night, was a stark contrast to the tumultuous journey that had brought him here. A sense of unease washed over him. The whispering clothes, his constant companions in this chilling endeavor, had ceased their chatter. He was left alone, with the silent grave and his own pounding heart. The silence was deafening, the suspense unbearable. Was this the end of his journey or the beginning of a new nightmare? As he stood before the grave, the bloody clothes suddenly fell silent, leaving John with a chilling sense of dread. What lies beneath the soil? Only time will tell.